Alrighty. There we go. We're live on Instagram. This is being recorded to the YouTube or for the YouTube. Let's wait for folks to come in while I finish my breakfast. Mm, mm. Let's wait for the fam to come in. Grand Rising. What's up, everybody? We're back to our normal scheduling. Week ahead forecast, Monday mornings. Let's wait for folks to come in before we dive in. I'm just finishing my oatmeal really quick. Your car overheated. Oh no. Smiling at you, Louie. I'm smiling back. I have a cousin from Mexico that just tapped in. Everybody say hi to cousin from Mexico. Really excited to be tapping with you guys this morning. We got a lot to talk about a little bit. Neptune has retrograded back into Pisces. I was gonna talk about that on Saturday, but I ran out of time because I was talking about the grand water trine in the sky. If you guys didn't check out my live from Saturday where I was talking about Scorpio season, the sun in Scorpio. Hi, cousin from Mexico. If you guys didn't tap into driving back from Vegas, fun. If you guys didn't tap into my live that I did on Saturday where I was talking about the sun in Scorpio and the sun square Pluto, and I was also talking about the grand water trine in the sky with Mercury, Mars, and then Jupiter and Saturn. So we have this beautiful grand water trine with Saturn in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, and Mercury, Mars in Scorpio. And then later on in Scorpio season, we're going to have the sun go into a trine with Jupiter and Saturn. So that's going to be really cool as well. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, though. We have Mercury retrograde coming up in Sagittarius. It's going to start off in Sag, go back into Scorpio, and then finish up in Sagittarius. And yeah, we are right now, as we speak, right now in this very moment, we have the moon in Capricorn, and we are in our waxing square from our new moon in Libra that we had about a week ago now. So, we're going to talk about all this and more. For those of you guys that are new here, my name is Louie. I am an astrologer, intuitive astrologer. I'm a tarot reader, and I do my own brand of karmic astrology. The reason why I call it my own brand of karmic astrology is because there's a lot of other astrologers that do karmic astrology, but I really do karmic astrology in my own way. I think I do it in a very unique way because my astrological practice is informed by my spiritual understanding and by my intuitive practice. So, yeah, okay. Welcome if you're new here, or if you don't know me, nice to meet you. Okay. Someone said they're exhausted. Yeah, there's been a lot of just kind of energy like that's been circulating in the sky. The planets have been doing kind of very tumultuous things. Um, okay, well, let's kind of dive in. Let's talk about some of the general themes of the week. But I wanted to talk about Neptune retrograde before I Um, Neptune retrograding back into Pisces before I kind of dive in. Let me see. Hold on. I got to take a look at something. Got to see how long Neptune is going to be retrograde. Mm-mm-mm. So Neptune retrograded back on the 22nd of October. He went back into Pisces. Everybody coming in, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Someone said migraines. Um, Let me take a look and see. Last retrograde lap. Hold on. Oh, okay. Until December 10th. Okay, so Neptune's going to be back in at the kind of like the last degrees of Pisces. Welcome everybody. We got a fresh new wave of people coming in. From October 22nd. So he went back into Pisces on October 22nd, which was how long ago is that? That was last Wednesday. So today's the 27th, Monday, October 27th. He went back into Pisces on the 22nd, and he's going to be there until December 10th. So I believe Neptune is going to be sitting at this like last degree of Pisces. I think he's going to be sitting at 29. Let me just double check and see if he goes back to 28. November. No. Neptune goes direct at 29 degrees Pisces. So we have Neptune, the planet of spirituality, the planet of intuition, the planet that's connected to fog, mirrors, delusions, storms, hurricanes. Neptune is also the planet that's connected to like kind of like the collective soul, the collective spirit. Neptune also has a lot to do with our relationship with art and music and culture. Okay. So Neptune is like the collective soul. Neptune is like this divine, energy, this planet that's like about this divine energy that we call forth when we are intuiting, when we are receiving creative or inspirational downloads. Uranus is also part of that, but Neptune has a lot to do with like this like spiritual and creative and musical motivation. Neptune also has a lot to do with film and television and like the collective culture, the collective artistic culture. Neptune has a lot to do with that. So with Neptune retrograding back to 29 degrees, if you are someone that has anything around 29 degrees of a mutable sign, if you have anything around 29 Sag, 29 Virgo, 29 Gemini, or 29 Pisces, you want to be very mindful of this Neptune retrograding back into Pisces. Neptune has been transiting the sign of Pisces or had been transiting the sign of Pisces since around 2012. So it takes Neptune about 14 years to go through a sign roughly. And so with Neptune going back to 29 degrees, what we're doing collectively as a soul, as a peoples, as a humanity, is we're kind of wrapping up our Neptunian lessons of the last 14 years, like of what Neptune and Pisces was about, right? So I think Neptune and Pisces over the last 14 years has kind of been about the collective soul, the collective consciousness, the collective spirit kind of like waking up or being stirred. We've seen a resurgence of divination practices, of witchcraft, of spiritual, of people seeking spiritual deeper understanding or people reconnecting to spirit in different ways. People also connecting to like their ancestral or cultural spiritual heritages. We've been kind of Neptune and Pisces since 2012 has been activating a lot of people's intuition, has been activating a lot of people's inner knowing, this like deeper quest or this deeper search for meaning in their life. A lot of us have been experiencing that since 2012 with Neptune and Pisces, especially the mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. People have a mutable rising or a mutable sun, a mutable moon, especially, they've been feeling very, inspired by Neptune and Pisces to quest for something deeper, to activate their spiritual gifts, to get involved into with tarot and astrology and Reiki, and to like, go to these spiritual places like Bali and the pyramids and India, and right? There's been this kind of reactivation of Neptune and Pisces of like deeper emotional and spiritual inner knowing and this kind of questing, wanting to know more. So with Neptune back at 29 degrees until December, this kind of we're wrapping up these kind of these Neptune and Pisces lessons around meaning and spirit and intuition, but also kind of like around delusion and it's the shadows of Pisces, the hard things about Pisces, delusion, fantasy, escapism, hopeless romanticism, right? Playing the victim, feeling powerless in your life, feeling directionless in your life in some type of way, right? There's been this call with Neptune and Pisces, the shadows of Neptune and Pisces, I think have also been about, the drug epidemic and, drug addiction and an increase of alcoholism in some type of ways, or even just an increase in escapism, right? Neptune and planet Pisces also have a lot to do with chemicals and toxins and, poison in a way. Poison not in the way like of Scorpio, but poison in terms of like, human beings creating things that are toxic or unhealthy for the natural environment. So, plastic and things like this, microplastics in all of our food, microplastics in our water, right? Like contamination of water sources. This has a lot to do with Neptune and Pisces. And so I feel like with Neptune at 29 degrees, collectively, we're kind of completing or maybe even realizing, or we are coming to conclusion of this kind of narrative or this saga, not only for us individually, personally, right, but also collectively as a world or as a people, as a global peoples, around what Neptune and Pisces has been about, which is, um, the high vibration of it is kind of the collective soul, the collective spirit being awakened in some type of way, but also the low vibration of it is us kind of being confused or us kind of being lost in the sauce or us kind of expecting someone else to save us or help us or there being a lot of just general confusion and a lack of clarity around truth and around integrity and around what's really happening, right? I think the Neptune in Pisces has also collectively been about over the last 14 years how the media has kind of, been, I would say, co-opted in a certain way, but the media has not been telling the truth or been has been very dishonest with us, right, in many ways. And so one of the things I think is important about Neptune back at 29 degrees Pisces is I think we are coming to an end of this period of kind of like people being confused or people being wishy-washy or people being kind of like escapist or avoidant or people realizing that like Jesus isn't going to come here to save us, like we have to save ourselves because we got to think about it, right? Neptune and Saturn have both gone back into Pisces, but they're both going to go back into Aries. We had a little taste of Neptune and Saturn and Aries together, right? Around summertime, from like June until what, August, September, I would say. We had, Neptune and Saturn in Aries in a conjunction, right? But they just dipped their toes into Aries. They just dipped their toes into Aries. They're like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna kind of get the door open, or we're gonna kind of show you guys what the narrative is gonna be with Neptune and Saturn and Aries. But right now they went back into Pisces, right? So what is Neptune and Saturn and Aries going to be about? Well, Neptune and Saturn and Aries is going to be about warfare. It's going to be about the individualization. It's going to be about us fighting for the things that are important to us, right? Aries opposes Libra, so us fighting Aries for justice, Libra. And I really do think that this, Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces, the last of it is going to show us kind of like how there's no one really coming to save us. I think there's a lot of collective illusions or collective deception that's going to continue to get revealed with Neptune back in Pisces with Saturn. Because when Saturn and Neptune going back into Aries next year, we're gonna we're gonna feel very inspired. We're gonna feel very called to action. We're gonna kind of know who the enemy is, and we're gonna have to go to war in some type of way, right? Not only as a collective, as a people, but also in our own individual life. And so I think Neptune and Saturn in Pisces has really been about, Neptune's been in Pisces for the last 14 years, but Saturn's been in Pisces for the last like 3.5 years, has really been about, this kind of like collective suffering and this kind of like collective loss and kind of like this collective ending. I think, Neptune and Saturn in Pisces has been very much about like the feelings of grief and loss and sadness and tragedy and like this inner knowing. All of us know deep down inside, we know deep down inside the way that the world has been going, the way the government has been running things and all the way the corporations or every it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. It's dying, right? And it's sad, right? That's why so many people have been feeling lost, have been feeling sad, have been feeling depressed, and have been feeling this sense of like hopelessness. But I also think that Neptune and Saturn want to remind us to keep the hope and stay positive and stay optimistic and hold on to the vision and really think about, okay, with this new reality, with this new paradigm that we're stepping into, how can we bring heaven on earth to earth, right? How can we bring what is good, what is righteous, what is loving to earth, right? Because Pisces is the sign of unconditional love. Pisces is the sign of universal, love. And this, we're all one, right? That's what Pisces is about. And so I feel like Neptune dipping his toes back into Pisces is going to kind of remind us over the next few months of like how we need to stay connected to spirit, stay connected to soul, stay connected to our intuition, right? Stay connected to this kind of hope. I think that's super important right now. I think we have to maintain and sustain the hope, but also moving away from the shadows of what Neptune and Pisces has been about, which is about victim mentality, escapism, avoidance, drug addiction, excessive alcoholism, like not taking accountability for the self and things like that, right? So I think it's really important with Neptune back in Pisces that for the next few months, that we kind of wrap up whatever Neptune and Pisces has been trying to teach us, not only individually, but also collectively, right? When it comes to our spiritual development, when it comes to our soul's journey, when it comes to the development of our intuition, when it comes to, this collective, our own individual dreams, our own goals in some way, like, because Pisces being, traditionally ruled by Jupiter, also has a lot to do with like our dreams, our vision, like, where we're growing or what we're reaching towards, right? So I feel like we can't lose sight of that. Even when Neptune and Saturn go into Aries next year, we can't lose sight of what Saturn and Pisces over the last 3 years, but what Neptune and Pisces over the last 14 years have been trying to teach us. But we also got to understand, I just got to tell you guys, like our real world experience of this Neptune and Pisces is definitely going to be more storms and more floods and more hurricanes and things like this. We got this crazy epic hurricane that's about to hit Jamaica. And Pisces does rule storms and hurricanes and flooding, right? Pisces is the waters, and things like this. So we want to be aware of that. Also, I think we're going to see more with Neptune back in Pisces and Saturn back. I think we're going to see more hypocrisy being revealed, or more scams, or more deception coming to light in some type of way, especially because Neptune's at 29 degrees. We also might see more things around contamination when it comes to waters and chemicals. We also might see more drugs, or even like drug epidemics or drug pandemics and things like this. What we might also see is kind of new spiritual movements and new religious movements. I think that's going to be a theme this year and next year. I think we're going to start see a lot of new religious, new spiritual movements, new cult leaders. Also, this kind of weirdly weird thing that's been happening where religion and politics and government are being like merged again, or there's like this weird overlap happening with like mainstream religion and like the government because of the Saturn Neptune thing that we got going on, where Saturn and Neptune are transiting together. We had Saturn and Neptune literally in a conjunction within a degree or two of each other for a while. Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces, but now that Neptune's back in Pisces, we still have Saturn and Neptune kind of co-present with each other. They're dancing with each other. And Saturn is the planet of government. Saturn is what's real. Saturn rules structure. Saturn rules, buildings, things that are tangible, things that are real. Also the hierarchical structures, or the hierarchical organizations, but also institutions. Institutions are a very Saturn word. That's a Saturn thing. So the institution of education and the institution of colleges and the what is it, healthcare institution, and even Congress as a government body, that's like a Saturn thing, right? Government is a Saturn thing. So with Saturn and Neptune transiting together, we're getting this weird blurred contamination. I guess that's the right word. We're getting this weird blurred contamination of government by religion, by people that are very faith-based, right? And also kind of like the corruption of religion. And I think that's something we need to be very mindful of, especially here in the States. One of the things that we're seeing is we're seeing the rise of like nationalistic Christianity, and we're also seeing here in the States, we're seeing the government, we're seeing the administration um, using religion to affect government policy, and also using like, traditional Christian ideology to, roll back rights, roll back liberties for, the disenfranchised. And we're going to see more of this. This is going to become more pronounced. I will say this. This is going to get more pronounced, so it's going to become more obvious with Neptune and Pisces and Saturn. Okay. We're going to see this even going into next year because Saturn and Neptune are transiting together. But we're going to start to see more action, more people taking to the streets, more rebellion. We're going to start to see that once Neptune and Saturn go back into Aries next year. Okay. But yeah, I want you guys to be mindful of these things. You know, also, what is real, what we think is real may not be real. What I will say with Neptune back in Pisces at 29 degrees, we need added increased discernment around what is real and what is not real. I'm thinking about AI. I'm thinking about social media. I'm thinking about Sora, that program that came out that's able to make videos now that look really real, but they're not. We had all those videos of we've seen all these crazy meme videos of Michael Jackson and of Martin Luther King, and who's that other guy? That There's this other guy that was featured in a lot of those meme videos that are totally not real, but they seem like they could be real. So it's important with Neptune back in Pisces over the next few months. We need to have added discernment, okay, around what um what is real and what is not real. We need to kind of not be so trusting or not be so accepting that this is true. Jake Paul, yeah, thank you. hmm Jake Paul. We had all those videos of Jake Paul. The AI is getting, it's only gonna get more wild. AI is only gonna get more wild, right? So also, with Neptune back in Pisces, reconnecting to your spirit, reconnecting to your intuition, reconnecting to your spiritual practice, reconnecting to faith, reconnecting to your own intuition. I think, the best thing to be able to navigate these times when our outer world is crumbling, when the outer world is in such a fast and intense and dramatic state of transformation and change, we need something within ourselves to stand upon. We need a solid inner foundation. We need a solid mental, emotional, spiritual, and even physical foundation, right? To stand upon. And I really do think that with Neptune back in Pisces, it's really important that we reconnect to our spiritual foundation. We reconnect to this deep inner knowing that everything is happening for us, not to us. Everything that's happening is meant to happen. Where we're at, where we happen to find ourselves in life, is exactly where we're supposed to be at this moment in time. Because if you were meant to be anywhere else, you would be there. If you were meant to be someone else, you would be that other person, right? These are some very deep, solid, foundational inner truths that I know that I know. Like people ask me, "Oh, do you believe in God?" No, I know God exists. I have such a level of conviction with my own spirit, with my own relationship with the divine. This is why my intuition is so strong. This is why my astrological, my tarot practice is so powerful, because I have such a strong relationship with spirit. I have such a strong spiritual foundation within myself. I could be sad, I could be going through ish, I can be whatever, whatever, but at the end of the day, I know that spirit and the divine got me, right? And that's what we all have to cultivate that within ourselves. No one else can really tell you how to believe. You can try to think to yourself, I'm very faithful and I believe and I'm very optimistic and I have a really strong relationship with spirit, right? You could tell yourself those things, but you have to feel it. You have to deeply know it. You have to deeply believe it. It's not enough to just say it, right? You have to really be about it. And I really do think with Neptune back in Pisces, my invitation is for everyone over the next few months as Neptune is sitting at this 29-degree Pisces. My invitation for you is to really ask yourself, what is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with spirit? What is my relationship with the universe? What is my relationship with the divine, right? Do I feel divinely supported? Do I feel like I can go to, the beyond, that I can go to spirit, that I feel connected, that I get answers, that the universe and the divine is always talking to me, right? In my daily life, right? And if you don't feel that, you have to find that for yourself. You have to reconnect. You have to connect or reconnect if that's something you've been feeling disconnected with, right? Because when we are really truthfully in right relationship with the energy of Pisces, with the energy of Neptune, the universe and the divine and God is talking to us all the time. I cannot tell you how many signs and symbols that I get in my daily life. I'm just living my life, and the universe is always like, here you go. Here's another breadcrumb. Here's another message. Here's another sign. Here's another symbol. We all have that. We all should have that. We have to cultivate that relationship with spirit. We have to cultivate that relationship with the divine. That's something that we got to build. That's a spiritual foundation that we got to build, right? And my invitation to you is don't, if religion is not the tea for you, if Catholicism and Christianity and the Bible don't do it for you, and they don't do it for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like I read the Bible and I love me some Jesus, but that's about it. Other than that, I really don't touch the Bible, okay? I just Jesus, and that's because that he's one of my spiritual mentors, right? Jesus is one of my guys that I work with on the other side of the veil. If that's not for you, go see, go search, go quest. You got to figure out a belief system or a spiritual foundation. You got to build a spiritual foundation. You got to figure out a belief system that makes you feel good, that enhances you, that makes you feel free, that makes you feel alive, that fills you up with love, that fills you up with compassion, right? If you have a belief system, or if you follow a religion, or you follow a religious leader, or you follow whatever, and that person and that belief system makes you feel doubtful, makes you feel confused, makes you feel ashamed, makes you feel afraid, makes you feel timid, hurts your feelings, does not make you feel included, does not make you feel like you can be yourself, that's not the truth. They are not the truth. That's not the truth. Because true spirituality, true faith, if you read what Jesus said, if you read what Buddha said, if you read what Krishna said, right, it's all about love. It's all about love. Anything that is not love is of man, is not truth. Okay? Any spiritual mentor, any guru, any religion, any faith-based system, any whatever, if it doesn't make you feel clarity, if it doesn't make you feel love, if it doesn't make you feel joyous, if it doesn't make you feel excited to live life, that's not the truth. You got to keep searching. You got to keep questing. You got to keep questing. Okay? So it's important with Neptune back in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces as well, and the North Node there, because the North Node is calling us to develop our spirituality. The North Node is calling us to release and let go of things that's no longer for us, right? Like if it doesn't bring us truth, if it doesn't bring us clarity, if it doesn't bring us love, then it's not for us. We got to keep searching, we got to keep questing. And the North Node and Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces now are really pulling us towards developing our spirituality, developing our intuition, developing our inner knowing, developing our relationship with the divine, with the unseen, with the unknown, you know? And that could look like anything. That's going to look very different for everybody. My spiritual journey, my spiritual gifts, my understanding of the divine, right? My relationship with God is going to look very different than yours, right? There's going to be similarities and overlap, but it's still going to look different. And we all cultivate that differently, you know? So I just want to remind you guys of that, okay? All right. I think that's enough. I think it's enough with Neptune in Pisces. But if you are someone that it has a late degree mutable placement, anything around 29 degrees of Gemini, Sag, Pisces, or Virgo, I want you to be very aware of that. Someone said, "How am I celebrating my birthday tomorrow?" Oh, thank you. Well, I had a friend come up for the weekend, and that was a lot of fun. I'm just taking the day off. I'm not really doing anything like special for my birthday. I don't really have any friends over here in Portland, unfortunately. I really haven't found people that are like my tribe, so maybe I'm gonna go out and do something. Maybe not. I'm probably not gonna do anything, but I am gonna be doing something later, either next month or in December for my birthday. So, but thank you for asking. I appreciate you. All right, let's keep going. But yeah, like I was saying, if you are someone that has a mutable placement at the last degrees, and Neptune is coming in to aspect you, just be mindful. Just be mindful of this transit of Neptune going back into Pisces, okay? Because Neptune squaring you or sitting in a conjunction with you or activating you in some type of way can trigger like escapism or addiction, or can trigger some kind of like crisis energy, or it can activate you in a way where you're feeling more called to isolation, to being alone, to working on your spirituality and things like this, okay? So just be mindful. All right, let's keep going. Let me put this away. I'm done eating. All right, let me get the chart pulled up here. Let's take a look at the week ahead astrology. Let's take a look at the astrology of the week ahead. Okay, so a few things. A few things. So we are starting our week with the moon in Capricorn today. The moon's gonna be in Capricorn. The moon's been in Capricorn since yesterday. The moon went to Capricorn yesterday, and the moon's in Capricorn today, and the moon's gonna be in Capricorn tomorrow, and then the moon goes into Aquarius on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, I believe. Let me just double check. Hold on. Hold me closer now. I got this like song stuck in my head right now. Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it goes into Pisces on Friday. Yeah. Yeah, everyone say a prayer for Hamika. I know it's really, oh my God, all these storms and all these hurricanes, and it's been so crazy. All right, so with the moon in Capricorn, today, tomorrow, and then Wednesday, the moon goes from Capricorn to Aquarius. But the moon in Capricorn today, and tomorrow, this is our waxing square from our new moon in Libra. So Capricorn squares Libra. So I want you guys to be mindful because what has this new moon in Libra cycle been teaching us for the last week? And what is this new moon in Libra cycle going to be teaching us for the next week? Or what's going to be showing us? Or how's it pushing us in some type of way? How's it triggering us? How's it activating us? Well, it's having us take a look at our relationships. It's also having us take a look at relationships that are unbalanced or unfair. It's trying to bring relationships back into balance. Also, the new moon in Libra is trying to get us to move towards relationships that are opportunistic, that are new, that are expansive, that have something new for us, right? But it's also been trying to help us move away from relationships where there's no saving it, there's no salvaging it, it's like trying to get us to complete any kind of karmic lessons or any kind of karmic situations or even like trying to, free us from any kind of connections and partnerships that are just like not for us. They're like burdensome in some type of way. Look at this sun coming in. Ah, look at this sun. Look at what it's doing. Okay. All right, sun. I see you. It's been raining over here in Portland, and we finally got the sun coming out. Look at that. We can kind of close this a little bit because the glare is a little too much. There we go. Okay, cool. The sun was just doing too much. But yeah, so this new moon in Libra has been been trying to show us what's out of balance in our relationships. It's been trying to get us to initiate or start relationships that are in karmic alignment. It's been trying to free us from relationships that are burdensome or heavy. It's been trying to help us get into back into balance and harmony in our existing relationships. It's been trying to push us towards holding others accountable, right? Being more vocal, being more expressive in our relationships, really asking for what we want, really going for what we want, really, addressing what is missing or what we need, right? And it's because the new moon in Libra that we had has also been kind of, this relationship dynamic and this kind of triggering that's been happening in our relationships and us really, revealing what we're feeling and opening up our heart and being more honest and all. That's also been happening because Mercury and Mars have been transiting together in Scorpio. Mercury, the planet of communication, in Scorpio, the sign of passion, desire, and things that are hidden. And then Mars sitting with Mercury. Mars is like, do the thing, say the thing, act on the thing, right? Like we've been feeling very inspired. We've been feeling a little bit more courageous and brave. Mars with our communication, Mercury, right, during this new moon in Libra cycle, because Mercury and Mars have been kind of instigating things. They've been instigating that conversation. We've been getting triggered by what that person is doing or not doing. We've been getting triggered by what that person is saying or not saying, right? We've been feeling kind of suspicious around how that person is moving. I don't know. Do you like me? Do you want me? Do you not like me? Do you not want me? Well, let me go ahead and ask. Let me go ahead and let's talk about it, right? Like there's been a lot of this energy of like you know things coming to the surface, things getting exposed, things getting revealed, but us kind of poking and prodding to figure out what is the truth, what is actually happening, how do you feel about me, how do I feel about you, right? There's been a lot of this energy because of the Mercury Mars in conjunction and transiting together on top of the new moon in Libra cycle, right? Whenever we start talking about Libra and Scorpio seasons or Libra, the signs of Libra and Scorpio, we're gonna start talking about relationships. Why is this? It's because Libra and Scorpio are ruled by the relationship planets. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Libra is ruled by Venus. Opposite of Scorpio, we have Taurus, which is Venus. Opposite of Libra, we have Mars, we have Aries, which is Mars, right? So these axes, the Libra Aries axes, in astrology, and also the Scorpio Taurus axes have everything to do with our interpersonal relationships and the dynamics that we go through within them, right? The power battles, the fairness, the equality, which is Libra Aries, right? The money issues, right? The resources, the trust, the vulnerability, the do you value me? Do you appreciate me? Right? The betrayal, that's Scorpio and Taurus. That's that. That's what that axis is about. So with Mercury, Mars having been in Scorpio, and with Mercury and Mars transiting in Scorpio together, and with the new moon in Libra, with Venus in Libra, there's been a lot of relationship stuff, a lot of partnership stuff, a lot of stuff coming up around our connections with others that we've been needing to address. Well, now that the moon's in Capricorn today and tomorrow, and the moon went into Capricorn yesterday, there's kind of like a triggering or an activation of the new moon in Libra, because the moon in Capricorn, like I was saying, squares Libra by sign. So in that square aspect is about, things being moved in a way that's possibly uncomfortable, but where we got to address something. So don't be surprised, especially if you're a mutable sign. If you're someone, or I'm sorry, cancel clear that. If you're someone that is cardinal, if you have Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra stuff, especially if your sun, moon is or rising is there. But if you have anything in cardinal signs, it's important to kind of take a look at what this new moon in Libra cycle has been kind of triggering, but also you may have to take action, or you may be confronted with a situation, or there may be something that you got to deal with that's a little uncomfortable, that you're forced to deal with the moon in Capricorn. Because the moon in Capricorn in that square it's making to the new moon in Libra is an activation, is a trigger point, is an action point, is like you have to do something about it. Squares are ruled by Mars. So whenever we see a square in a chart, or whenever a square is happening with planets in transit in the sky, that will usually trigger an event. It can move us to take action, right? It can cause us to like be caught in a situation where we have to respond, right? And we've been waiting, we've been twiddling our thumbs, we've been just kind of, and all of a sudden, bam, this thing happens. All of a sudden, this person says something. All of a sudden, this situation you get pulled into because you're forced to address it. And that's what squares do, right? And that's what Mars is also about. Planet Mars, ruling over the aspect of a square. Mars is like, I don't care if you're ready to deal with it or not. You're going to deal with it now, okay? You're going to have to confront this now. You're going to have to take action now, right? Sometimes Mars has us do that. He has us take action and deal with something even if we don't want to. We're not ready. Mars doesn't care. Okay. So that's what squares do. Squares always want to remember that squares are the energy of Mars. And sometimes when a square happens, we get put in a situation where we have to confront and act on something. Okay. So I want you guys to be mindful of this with the moon in Capricorn over the next few days, because this moon in Capricorn might also be triggering or activating something for you from the new moon in Libra cycle. And it might, so the moon in Capricorn, it could bring somebody new in over the next few days. Current relationship could solidify, or it could transform and change in some type of way. You can feel called to leaving behind or exiting a relationship, right? In some type of ways, you may have to confront something that's very difficult, very hard in the next few days with the moon in Capricorn, right? Oh, someone said they have a date today. Oh, I love that for you. That's very cool. The moon is going to be squaring Venus today, later on. So you have a moon, you have your date is tonight. The moon's going to square Venus tonight. Oh, actually, tomorrow morning. But the moon's moving into square with Venus, in Libra. So moon is in Capricorn, Venus is in Libra. Um, but what's cool about the moon in Capricorn, so also let me tell you what's really cool about this week. And what's also very cool about the moon going through Capricorn and Aquarius this week is the moon in Capricorn is being disposited by Saturn in Pisces. So when I say disposited, what I mean is the moon in Capricorn is responding to Saturn in Pisces because the moon is transiting Saturn's sign, right? So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And when the moon is transiting Saturn's sign, she's looking to Saturn for direction. She's looking to Saturn she's pulling energy from Saturn, right? So with Saturn in Pisces, he's retrograde. Right, Neptune just went back into Pisces. They're within 3 degrees of each other. But Saturn, what is he doing? Saturn is making this beautiful trine. It's Mercury separating from a trine with Saturn. Mars is trining Saturn, but he's making this beautiful trine with Jupiter. So we have the Saturn Jupiter trine in the sky. Saturn's at 26, Jupiter's at 24. They're going to perfect this trine at 25 degrees in a few weeks, actually. And so, what I also kind of feel, what I'm kind of intuitively getting around this trine and around the moon in Capricorn and Aquarius is there's certain things that are coming into alignment over the next 4 or 5 days. Saturn trine Jupiter, Saturn trine Mercury, Mars. We are feeling this need to take action, conscientious, intentional action. We're feeling this need to expand and grow. We're kind of in this place with the moon in Capricorn and Aquarius this week over the next like 5 days, in this place of accepting that this thing is not for us. This is coming to an end. This we're moving away from. We have to grieve this thing. We have to mourn this thing. This thing is not meant to come with us into our timeline. But because of the trine, there's this level of acceptance and surrender to these things. We know deep within ourselves, this is not meant to come with us anymore. And it doesn't have to be something external. It could be a habit or behavior. It could be a way of being. It can be like a living situation that you realize you're in. You're like, you know what? I cannot anymore. And so it kind of feels like there's some epiphany or realization this week around things that are absolutely over, or absolutely done with, and things that are also kind of karmic in nature, right? Capricorn and Aquarius are ruled by Saturn. These are very karmic signs. These signs have a lot. So when we're talking about karma, we're talking about lessons, where there's lessons that we need to learn. And if we don't learn the lessons that certain situations or certain people or certain experiences are here to teach us, then guess what? We're going to deal with it again. We're going to have to re-experience the thing again in a different way, in a different form, in a different fashion. We're going to go through the same thing again, just in a different way, right? And so with the moon in Capricorn and Aquarius, the moon responding to Saturn in Pisces over the next 4 or 5 days, we may realize, we may wake up and realize, like, wait a minute, I'm in another karmic situation. Wait a minute, here we go again on the Ferris wheel. Here we are again on the carousel. Here we are again. And you may realize, like, wait a minute, something needs to change or something needs to pivot in order for me to go in a new direction. So I really want you to be aware of this, especially if you're a cardinal sign today, from yesterday, today, tomorrow, because the moon's going to be in Capricorn. And then if you are a fixed sign, you're probably going to realize this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hold on, let me see. If you're a fixed sign, yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, going into Friday. If you're a fixed sign, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because the moon's gonna be transiting Aquarius, which is fixed, right? Someone said Cancer, Sun, Cap Rising, yeah. So it's important that we kind of acknowledge, this divine moment of transition for many people, and these realizations and these epiphanies that we're having around what needs to change, or what kind of foundational things need to change. But I also will say, with this grand trine in the sky with Mercury, Mars, and Saturn and Jupiter, we also need to be very mindful around where we're being called to expand and grow, where new opportunities are showing up for us, where new jobs are showing up for us, where there's new wisdom, new knowledge. We're feeling called to learn something new. We're feeling called to expand in this direction. We're feeling called to go in this direction. We're feeling called to go really far, move really far, possibly, right? There could be something like this. We need to listen in to what Saturn and Jupiter and Mars and Mercury and this beautiful grand trine. We need to listen into what they're trying to show us, or where they're trying to pull us to, right? And we got to listen to our heart. We got to listen to our emotions. We got to listen to our feelings right now, because it's a grand water trine, right? And the element of water is like what's unseen and what's unknown. The element of water, it's more about our feelings. It's more about our heart. It's more about, what makes us feel good, what inspires us, what makes us feel peaceful, what makes us feel creative, what brings us emotional, nourishment. That's what we want to move towards. Those are the things that we want to cultivate, those passions, those directions, those living situations, those connections, whatever. That's what we're feeling called to cultivate, right? In this way with this grand water trine. So I really do think that we need to be very we need to listen to like the water within us, right? Maybe take a salt bath, maybe take a shower, maybe go hang out by the river, by the lake. You know, if it's raining outside, maybe go take a walk in the rain. To really listen to what the element of water is trying to tell you, to connect to the element of water, to see what this beautiful grand water trine is trying to do for you. Also, if on Saturday I did go through um every element, and I talked about the grand water trine for every element based on the rising, on your rising. That was towards the end of the live that I did on Saturday, so I highly recommend you guys go and watch that because I was channeling some really good information and giving people some really good downloads on Saturday around how this grand water trine could show up in your life. Because it's gonna be around until the end of the month and all Scorpio season, you know? So yeah, okay. All right. So the moon in Capricorn today, ruled by Saturn and Pisces. Today, tomorrow, going to Wednesday. We may be feeling a little heavy or a little burdensome. We may have a lot of obligations or responsibilities, a lot of tasks that we got to deal with. We might have to deal with the government authority, right? There also may be certain karmic lessons that we got to learn. I'm looking at the moon squaring Venus tomorrow morning. So what's interesting about moon square Venus is this tends to feel like a really good transit, but there could also be some tension just because we had a new moon in Libra and the moon's going to be in Capricorn, squaring that Venus, right? There could be some tension around moon in Capricorn, emotional expectations in relationships or in connections to others, or even certain kind of karmic obligations or responsibilities that we feel towards relationships or for others. Like we may feel very karmically bound or karmically obligated to somebody out of duty, out of responsibility, moon in Capricorn. But in some ways, Venus and Libra, the relationship is unbalanced or unfair, or the relationship is not in alignment, or it needs to get back into alignment. So we got to address something. So I think with the moon square Venus tomorrow, we got to be a little bit more mindful of that. Someone said they went to court today. It makes a lot of sense. Moon and Capricorn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn has a lot to do with government authority, right? Authorities, powers that be that are above us, that are beyond us, institutions, structures, things like that that are bigger than us, right? That's Capricorn. So when we're talking about the moon transiting Capricorn, we're talking about having to consult higher authorities in some type of way, right? Or having to deal with systems that are above us or bigger than us in some type of way. But yeah, with the moon square Venus tomorrow, though, I think we need to be mindful of what are the how do we feel obligated to others, or what are our karmic contracts that we have with others, and in what ways do those need to be modified, in what ways do those need to evolve so that we can, bring our connection or bring our relationship back into balance. We're in a new moon in Libra cycle. The lessons right now from last week to this week are about relationships, balance, fairness, justice, equality, equilibrium, right? Truth, integrity in our relationships, right? Things like this. Those are the themes. So that energy is going to be present this week as well, especially today, tomorrow, yesterday, today, tomorrow, with the moon in Capricorn because of that square that it's making to the new moon. Okay. So I want you guys to be mindful of this. All right. And then, and then, well, tomorrow's looking good. I like tomorrow. Tomorrow's looking good. I think tomorrow's a good news type of day. I think tomorrow is a very fun, inspirational day. I think tomorrow is also kind of climactic. Oh, tomorrow's my birthday. Oh my gosh. This is my solar return chart that I'm looking at. I've already seen it a few times. But tomorrow's a special day, not only because it's my birthday, but it's because the moon's opposite Jupiter. Ooh, that means am I getting married next year? Am I falling in love? Is this my man's coming through? Moon opposite Jupiter, my solar return chart. This is my 11th house and my fifth house, okay? So maybe. And we have Jupiter trine Mars. We have Mars on my Venus. I don't know. It's kind of giving a boot thing. I don't know. The solar return is giving a boot thing, but we'll see. And maybe he'd be older than me. I don't know. Saturn trine Jupiter. He might be older than me, but we'll see. Anyways, tomorrow's gonna be a very special lucky day because the moon's opposing Jupiter tomorrow. And we have Jupiter in this beautiful trine with Mars and Saturn, and Mercury separating from this trine with Jupiter. So tomorrow there may be some good news that people receive. There could be something around new opportunities or some kind of expansion or some kind of redemption of hope. There might be also a consultation with someone that has a lot of wisdom or knowledge or has like higher authority or someone that is very compassionate or that gives you a moment of like, um, a moment of uh, wisdom or a moment of grace or even a moment of opportunity because that moon opposite Jupiter. Tomorrow's looking really good. Moon opposite Jupiter. The moon is also going to be making this beautiful sextile with Saturn and Neptune and also Mars and Mercury. So tomorrow feels kind of like an eventful day, I will say. Tomorrow feels kind of eventful. Also, Mercury's at 29 degrees tomorrow, my loves. So when Mercury goes to 29 degrees, oh my God. Some people may experience some crisis or some drama, but I also think we're gonna see another wave of people getting new jobs, but also leaving jobs starting tomorrow, going into Wednesday. So what happens tomorrow on Tuesday, October 28th, Mercury goes to 29 degrees Scorpio. And then on Wednesday, he goes into Sag. So we have Mercury and Sag starting this week on October 29th. But right as Mercury goes into Sag, what does he do? He opposes Uranus and Gemini, who's also at 0 degrees. So we have this Mercury Uranus opposition. Welcome everybody that's coming in. We've been live for about an hour now, but thank you for being here. So what I'm talking about right now is I'm talking about Mercury's ingress into Sag on October 29th. That's going to be on Wednesday. And right as Mercury goes into Sag on Wednesday, he opposes Uranus in Gemini. So we have a Mercury Uranus opposition, and that can be a little frantic, a little chaotic. That energy can feel a little exciting and motivational, but also we might be feeling a little combative. We might be feeling very opinionated, right? Mercury and Sag, I've noticed when people have Mercury and Sag, they tend to be very opinionated. They tend to be very invested in their beliefs and they are okay with arguing. They do not mind having a good argument over something they believe in, but they also are kind of like truth tellers. They're very, very open. So Mercury and Sag, Mercury has no filter when he's in Sagittarius. What he thinks, what he feels is what he says. So this kind of Mercury and Sag opposite Uranus and Gemini can really open up a dialogue with folks starting on Wednesday where we're in rebellious conversation or where we're disagreeing with someone or we're even feeling a little bit more opinionated or feeling a little bit more passionate around our beliefs, especially ones around like social justice and equality and things like this, okay? So with Mercury in Sag opposite Uranus in Gemini, watch out on Wednesday for some shocking, surprising information that finds you. It could be at the workplace. I don't know why this is kind of giving me people suddenly getting laid off or getting fired, but also this can be good news. This can also be about a lucky opportunity because we it's coming out of this beautiful grand trine with the moon is separating, right? From this opposition with Jupiter on Tuesday. So it's kind of like I don't know, Tuesday to Wednesday, there's like a big shift in energy. There's like a big shift in energy with Mercury going into Sag. But also there may be what we saw last week. Was that last week? I think it was last week. Electrical devices now functioning. Mass electrical devices or internet devices not working or malfunctioning, starting on Wednesday when Mercury goes into Sag, and opposes Uranus and Gemini. Okay, I think what I noticed was like when we initially had like all those outages last week. I think that was when Mercury and Mars actually hit a conjunction. I think that was like last Tuesday or last Monday. Yeah, yeah. Because I wasn't able to get on the internet either when I was in California in that little Airbnb that was in the middle of the mountains. I wasn't able to get on the internet that morning, which is why I wasn't able to do the week ahead last week. But that was because of the Mercury Mars conjunction. The Mercury Mars conjunction last week was very troublesome, was very meddlesome with technology. Mainly because they were in water signs. Mercury and Mars are in water signs, and Mars takes precedent. Mars rules Scorpio. So last week, we had Mercury and Mars are, they're still transiting together kind of. They're within 4 degrees, but that conjunction last week is what caused so many issues. So many electrical issues and stuff. And this is Mercury in a water sign. So Mercury doesn't do that well in a water sign, you know? He gets disconnected from electricity, right? You think about it, water and electricity don't mix, right? Water and electricity don't mix. Electricity is an air element thing. Water is a water element thing. So water and if you think about the air element and the water element, they don't mix. We got the sky and we got the ocean. They do not mix. The water and the air element do not mix, right? So this is why electricity doesn't do well. This is why Mercury doesn't do well in the sign in water signs in general. I think Mercury does best in Scorpio. He's a fallen in Pisces. He does all right in Cancer. He's all right in Cancer, but I think he does best in Scorpio. But even then, he malfunctions, right? When you put Mercury in a water sign. So, but yeah, all right. So Mercury and Sag. Oh Lord, are you guys ready for Mercury and Sag? I don't think you're ready for Mercury and Sagittarius. And then we have a Mercury retrograde coming up. Ha 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 ha. So Mercury's gonna be in Sagittarius from October 29th to November 18th, and then he dips back into Scorpio. So Mercury's gonna go into Sag. He's gonna go a few degrees in. He's gonna retrograde, go back into Scorpio, retrograde back into Scorpio where he goes backwards. And then he's gonna re-enter the sign of Sagittarius in December of 2025, where he's gonna be until January 1st. So starting October 29th we're gonna have Mercury in Sag until November 18th. He goes back into Scorpio from November 18th till December 11th, when he goes back into Sag, where he will be until January. So we're gonna have this kind of like Mercury in Sag, Mercury in Scorpio thing happening over the next few months, and we're not gonna have Mercury out of Sagittarius and going into Capricorn until 2026. I'll see you guys there, okay? But yeah, we got to be mindful because Mercury retrograde, we're already kind of in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde. It's really funny because I do believe a lot of the electrical malfunction last week started to happen as well when Mercury was in when Mercury entered the degree of his shadow period for his retrograde. So we want to be aware. Mercury retrograde energy is coming. Okay. Mercury retrograde is coming. It's time to, redo all their plans. It's time for everything to fall into chaos. It's time for us to miscommunicate. It's time for us to take a look at, our habits and our behaviors and our daily routines and kind of give them an update a little bit, okay, with the Mercury retrograde. And I'll do a live on the Mercury retrograde in Sag. I'll do an exclusive live where I talk about that, okay? Because that can be that. If I start talking about Mercury retrograde and Sag, we're gonna be here for another hour or so, okay? And I'm not gonna rant on that. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, Mercury is gonna be in Sagittarius starting this week on Wednesday. So, Mercury and Sag is gonna feel us. It's gonna make us feel expansive. It's gonna make us feel opportunistic. We're gonna be feeling more open, more honest. We're also going to be feeling more opinionated with our beliefs. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet of beliefs, of expansion, of growth. Mercury is also entering a fire sign. So when Mercury's in a fire sign, he's feeling a little bit more spicy. He's feeling a little bit more contentious. He's feeling a little bit more argumentative, right? And we want to be very mindful of Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury in Sag is also going to be activating physically or tangibly in some type of way the mutable signs. So we're going to be seeing the mutable signs feeling a little bit more chatty or a little bit more indecisive or maybe even a little bit more stressed because sometimes the Mercury transit can make you feel a little bit more stressed. The signs that are going to benefit the most from Mercury and Sag is going to be the fire signs and the air signs because Mercury is going to be transiting your sign if you're a fire sign, or trining you if you're a fire sign. If you're a Sag, it's going to be transiting you. If you're an Aries or a Leo, Mercury's going to be trining you. And then if you're an air sign, Mercury will be opposing you if you're a Gemini, but that doesn't have to be that bad. Um, you know, um, it doesn't have to be that bad if you're a Gemini, but it's also going to be sextiling you. Mercury and Sag sextiles Aquarius and sextiles Libra, right? So it's going to be good for Aries and Libra. It may be a little bit more challenging for water and earth signs, okay? Mercury and Sag may not, water and earth signs, Mercury and Sag, may not be as beneficial for y'all, but it will definitely be good for fire and air signs. Someone said, finally, some fire in the air. Yeah, we've been having a lot of Water. Water. We've been having a lot of water in the air. We have Mercury, Mars, Sun in Scorpio, Saturn, Neptune, North Node in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer. We've been having a lot of water in the air. A lot of y'all aren't used to this, okay? You're not like water dominant like me. I'm a Pisces rising. I have Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Scorpio. I do have Jupiter in the North Node in Aries. Do I have Mars in Libra and I have a Capricorn moon? So I do kind of have like a elementally balanced chart, but I am primarily watery. A lot of y'all aren't used to this. You're not used to the emotions. You're not used to swimming in your feelings. You're not used to the unseen and the unknown. You're not used to this kind of like collective emotion, collective sensitivity that's been in the air. But welcome. Get used to it, okay? We love it here. I've been enjoying this energy in a certain, even though it's been hard, it's been triggering some things for me. I've been enjoying this energy for the most part. But yeah, I would just want you guys to be mindful of this, okay? This Mercury going into Sagittarius and kind of us moving away from the so much water in the sky. Um, what's also really interesting in which I'll talk about more with the Mercury retrograde. Mercury and Mars are kind of like doing this dance together. We're gonna have a Mercury Mars conjunction again in the mid around like November 12th. We're gonna have a Mercury Mars conjunction in Sagittarius. Yeah, November 12th. I'm looking at Mercury Mars at 6 degrees. So we're gonna have this Mercury Mars conjunction, and we're gonna have Mercury Mars in Sag together. And this is definitely the energy of go after what you want, going to war, being more courageous, being inspired, being expansive. Mercury and Mars together in Sagittarius is going to definitely make us feel, and we'll talk about it in a few weeks from now. It's going to be making people feel very inspired, very hopeful in a way where they're like want to go and do something different. They want to go out on war. They want to, we might also see that. We might see some proclamations of war and stuff with Mercury and Mars going into Sag and stuff like that. But Mercury is going to retrograde. So, um, there might that energy might be about reworking things from the past or realizing that there's certain things from the past or certain things in the present that need to like evolve or change or shift in some type of way. Yeah, I think the collective needs some fire too. Yeah, I think the collective. Someone said they think the collective needs some fire. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to the week. We're already an hour in. I told myself I was gonna try to make these like an hour long. I don't know if I could do that though, but we're gonna do our best. We'll get there, we'll get to there will be a time in my life where my lives are only an hour long. But now is not that time. And tomorrow's probably not going to be that time either. And probably not even next week or even the month after that. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the week ahead. All right. So bringing it back to, I was talking about Tuesday, tomorrow, moon opposite Jupiter. And I was talking about the beautiful grand trine. So that's all good. Tomorrow's like looking like a good day. It feels like very positive, very expansive and stuff. Okay. Yeah. But then on Wednesday, let me get my like time zone correct here. Wednesday, the moon goes into Aquarius, and the moon's going to hit a conjunction with Pluto. Okay. And we have the sun separating from the square of Pluto. The sun's going to be at 6 degrees, and Pluto's still at 1. So I want you guys to just be mindful of the moon in Aquarius. Hold on, and the moon conjoining Pluto, of these kind of moments of like depth, these moments of realization, these moments of trauma, or even like when the moon goes into Aquarius and hits Pluto on Wednesday, there could be something very deep and very profound that you realize. There could be something that kind of comes up or bubbles up from within you that's like some kind of truth or some kind of epiphany or some kind of decision or something that you're going to make, around where you need to go, what you need to do. Especially if you're a fixed sign, if you're Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio. Okay, the moon in Aquarius, um, starting Wednesday, October 29th. And the moon's going to be in Aquarius Thursday, and the moon is going to partially be in Aquarius on Friday, but then it goes into Pisces. Well, the moon in Aquarius, Tuesday, Wednesday, partial or Wednesday, Thursday, partially Friday, is kind of activating the fixed signs in some type of way, right? Because the moon's going to be transiting Aquarius, but it opposes Leo and it squares Scorpio and Taurus. So, if you are someone that's very fixed dominant, you have a lot of fixed in your chart. I want you to kind of pay attention to what's going on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because you may see some kind of movement or some kind of activity in your life. or there may be something that unfolds or something that happens. But that Moon Pluto conjunction initially on Wednesday, us collectively, right, there could be this deep, profound moment of transition or change, or this deep moment of trauma, this deep moment of revelation. And I want you guys to be mindful of that. The moon is also going to be trining Uranus, though. So I think with the Pluto and Aquarius and the Uranus and Gemini trine, I think that what that's been about when it gets activated is us, realizing that we need to even be more true or more authentic with ourselves. Us realizing that there's something that we want to liberate ourselves or free ourselves from. Aquarius and Uranus have a lot to do with freedom and emancipation, right? Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto has a lot to do with this deep kind of psychological, mental, or deep psychological, mental, or social, right? Because Aquarius is a sign that's mental and psychological. It's also social. It has a lot to do with community, but it also has a lot to do with our authenticity, with who we are outside of the collective, who we are outside of the group. Well, Pluto and Aquarius has been kind of helping evolve or helping reveal or helping trigger certain things around how we need to personally evolve out of our friendships, or how we need to be more true or authentic to ourselves, or even with Uranus and Gemini trying that Pluto and Aquarius, that Aquarius Uranus influence is like you need to be more free, you need to be more authentic, you need to liberate yourself from something. There could be a relationship, there could be a living situation, there could be a certain career path or job path that you feel very held back by, or that you feel very stuck by. And I feel like this Uranus trine Pluto is like free yourself, liberate yourself, align yourself with groups, with people, with goals, with dreams, or even with a way of being that feels right, that feels true to you, right? That where you're not censoring yourself, you're not hiding yourself, you're not shaming yourself, or even not subjecting yourself to neglect or abuse, or even you're not having to be somebody that you're not in order to fit into a group, in order to be accepted by your parents, in order for these people to like you and these people to like. We're throwing all that out, okay, with Uranus in Gemini, trine Pluto, and Aquarius, okay? So with the moon going into Aquarius on Wednesday and hitting that Pluto, that conjunction of Pluto and trining Uranus, this can be a moment where we realize, like, wait a minute, I haven't been true or authentic to myself. Or we can be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna rebel. I'm gonna say no. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to disagree with this person openly. I'm not gonna just go along with this. I'm not just gonna say yes, right? So I want you guys to be very mindful of that. Okay. Air signs have been getting woken up. Aquarius, Leo, or Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. Y'all have been getting woken up. Uranus and Pluto are trying to wake you guys up. Being nice and, just kind of going with the flow and not being really sure and kind of just being too caught up in the head and being indecisive. Uranus and Pluto don't got time for that no more. Okay. Uranus and Pluto, Uranus and Gemini, Pluto and Aquarius is trying to get the air signs to move and take action and be a little bit more intentional and be a little bit more rebellious, be a little bit more individualistic. Who are you? Outside of your friendships, outside of your family, outside of your community, outside of those thoughts, those negative, pessimistic, self-destructive, I'm not good enough. Who are you outside of all that? Uranus and Pluto, air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, is trying to show you that, trying to show you who you are outside of all this BS, outside of all this, confusion, outside of all this dialogue, this inner dialogue, or outside of all these relationships. You are not your relationships. Like this is, I have to express this. I feel like we get so confused with who we are. You are not your marriage. You're not who your kids are. You're not that house that you have. You're not that job that you have. You're not that image or that self that you think you. That's not who you are. Okay. You're none of those things. Okay. Because let me tell you, when those things fall away and when those things leave you, who are you? What are you left with? Right? Who are you left with? Yourself. Okay. And that's why we gotta how we see ourselves, how we identify. We gotta be very mindful of these things because we are not the things that we think we are. We're not. That's not who you are. So who are you outside of those things? That's what Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius, I kind of feel like is asking us, especially air signs. Okay. So with the moon in Aquarius, what I will say, with the moon in Aquarius, let me take a look. Hold on. Yeah, because we have Moon Pluto conjunct on Wednesday. Moon, Pluto, and then the moon squares the sun. We have moon square sun on Wednesday. So there can be a little bit of an emotional ego battle that we can deal with on Wednesday. There can be some tension between our public self or our goals or our dreams that we're chasing after, how we express ourselves, or even how we conceptualize ourselves, our ego, right? Our ego-driven self, our need for validation, our need for attention, our need for recognition, our need for some kind of deeper purpose. And the tension would be with the moon, right? Moon in Aquarius. Do we feel validated or celebrated by our friendships? Do we feel like we are in alignment with our community? Do we feel like we're being true and authentic with ourselves? I think the moon in Aquarius squaring the sun in Scorpio. The sun in Scorpio is like, okay, something's got to evolve or shift or change within our person because the moon in Aquarius is like we've maybe abandoned a piece of ourselves, or we've been kind of performing for others, or we've been accepting things or people as they are, right? Even though it's coming at some expense to the self. So there could be some kind of tension between the sun and the moon, right? With on Wednesday with that moon square sun. That happens. Yeah, that can be a very interesting that could be a very interesting experience for us on Wednesday with the moon square the sun. Especially if you're a fixed sign. This is for fixed signs. Fixed signs may feel moon square sun on Wednesday. Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius may feel that on Wednesday, especially if you have anything around early degrees, around like 6 degrees of a fixed sign. You might feel this moon square Pluto. Okay. And then let's keep going. Let's go by hours here. Let me see where the moon's at. Oh, 12, 12. Um, I think we have a moon square Mars that's gonna happen too. When's the moon? Oh, then Mercury goes into Sag. So I'm on Thursday. I'm looking at Mercury in Sag at 0 degrees. And then I'm looking at the moon at 15. Oh, we have a really nice transit on Thursday, actually. Um, in the morning. We have moon trine Venus. Oh, that could be very sweet, very nice. The moon trine Venus. So Uranus moves into Sag and opposes. Oh, I'm sorry, Mercury moves into Sag and opposes Aquarius or Uranus and Gemini immediately. But then we have the moon trine Venus on Thursday. And the moon trine Venus can be very sweet, very nice. That could be really good for friendships and connections and hanging out. Moon trine Venus could be also really good for a date night. So if you're thinking about going on a date on Thursday, that could also be really good for going to a show or doing anything kind of like artistic, expressive, going out to eat, going to listen to some music. We have moon trine Venus that day. It actually perfects that moon Venus trine actually perfects around midday, around mid-afternoon Pacific time. Yeah. So I'm kind of liking that. I'm liking that moon trine Venus. It feels good. It feels nice. I really do feel like Venus and Libra has been trying to bring in a lot of like new connections and new relationships, has been trying to evolve our relationships in some type of way for many people, you know? So we have this beautiful moonshine Venus. So if you want to do some art, you want to do some dancing, you want to go to show, you want to go out to dinner, you want to go and, go on a date, I would really recommend it on Thursday because we have that moonshine Venus and that looks really good. That feels really good. All right, let's keep going. Okay. So Thursday night going into Monday morning, the moon squares Mars. Okay. The moon squares Mars. So we want to be a little mindful of excessive anger or irritation. That would be a good day, like Friday morning, waking up, going to the gym. I don't know, I got a download around upset stomach because it's something that we ate on Thursday. So no excessive eating of sugars and sweets on Thursday night because you might have an upset stomach with Moon in Aquarius square Mars in Scorpio on Friday morning if you overindulged or ate too much or even possibly drank too much on Thursday night. Okay. Moon square Mars, though, this can be about taking action towards something or feeling more bold or courageous Friday. There can also be a little bit of this energy of being clear with decisions or unexpected choices and decisions that we make, or us realizing, I'm going to do this. Not only is it because the moon is trining Mars, but it's also because Mercury has just gone into Sag and opposed Uranus, right? On Thursday. So with Mercury going into Sag and opposing Uranus right as the moon is trining Mars going into Friday, it's like, or Friday, like that combination can really have us feeling some type of way and really moving differently. Or really feeling called to take action and kind of pivot and go a new direction in a different type of way, right? So I just want you guys to be mindful of that on Friday. Moon square Mars. Moon's going to be at last degrees of Aquarius, squaring Mars, who's at 27. And we also have Mars about to change signs, right? Mars is getting to this anaretic degree, climactic degree. He's getting to the end of Scorpio. He's at 27 on Friday, October 31st. This is also Halloween. This is also Halloween. So this is looking kind of fun. This is looking like a fun, spicy Halloween. The moon is going to square Mars. We have Uranus opposite Mercury. I think this is going to be a very fun, exciting, spicy Halloween. That's what's kind of giving. Also, I do think by evening time, the moon does go into Pisces. So yeah, that moon square Mars energy is showing up mostly around the morning. Yeah, because then the moon's in Pisces. So I'm looking at 9 a.m. Pacific time, um, Friday morning, and the moon's already in Pisces. And so Friday night, Halloweeny is looking kind of good. We have the moon trine the sun. It's looking fun and exciting. We actually have the moon and the sun being a beautiful trine with each other on Friday night. So I think Friday night is looking fun, expansive. The weekend, we have another weekend with the moon going through a mutable sign. This has been a thing. The moon going through a mutable sign on the weekends. It's been a thing. This past weekend, we had the moon in Sagittarius. Um, upcoming weekend, we're gonna have the moon in Pisces. Every weekend, we have the moon going through these immutable signs. Someone said the illusions are coming out. The dream, yeah, oh yeah, moon's gonna be in Pisces. People are escaping. People are doing drugs and stuff. People are having fun. We're living in the fantasy, right? We're living the fantasy realm. Like it's so interesting because Halloween, we all dress up as different characters. We're all playing like we're all in this collective fantasy. When if you think about what Halloween is, right? We're all dressed up, we play different characters. We don't know who's hiding behind the mask. Right? There's this energy of like unknown identity and this energy of kind of like just being whoever you want, right? On Halloween. And that's so Pisces. It's Moon in Pisces, trine Sun in Scorpio, you know? So the Moon trine the Sun tends to feel really good. Especially for meeting new people. I really do think that this can be a really cool weekend of like meeting new people and stuff like that. Just be careful. What I will say, because Neptune is at 29 degrees Pisces again, we're gonna have a lot of Pisces in the air. We have Saturn, North Node in Pisces. We have Neptune, Saturn, North Node, Neptune, and Moon in Pisces over the weekend. Be careful with any substances that you're taking, especially unknown substances. So let's say someone's like, "Oh yeah, take this. I want to give you this," you know, and you're at a party and they try to give you something and you don't even know what it is. Slow down. Wait a minute. Ask some questions. Be like, wait a minute, what is this? What are you giving me? And just be very careful, be a little cautious with what you're doing this weekend because I'm looking at the moon, co-present with the North Node and with Saturn and Neptune, and I don't know. We have Mars trying Neptune as well, and I don't know. This is kind of giving. We're a little prone when the moon's transiting the North Node. We're prone to overindulgence. We're prone to overconsumption, to doing too much of things. Okay. So be very go up the flow, but also be very mindful. Also, when the moon goes into Pisces, Friday night or Friday midday, yeah, midday, yeah, around 12 p.m. Pacific time, when the moon goes into Pisces, I'm looking at 11:30 a.m. and the moon's at 3 degrees Pisces, so I think the moon actually goes into Pisces around 10 a.m. Pacific time. But the moon's gonna square Uranus and square Mercury on that day. So, there we might unexpect so this can manifest in a few different ways. We can unexpectedly get invited to some kind of party or celebration on Friday night, or we can have like some kind of change in plans, or someone can be acting a little rebellious or a little rebellious, or they can go against the plan, or they can be a little, yeah, we can have a moment of frustration. I'm just looking at Moon square Mercury and Moon square Uranus and this T-Sqaure with Moon, Mercury, and Uranus. And Mercury just went into Sag. I'm kind of feeling like there's this tension between the Moon, Mercury, and Uranus. So the Moon is like how we're feeling, Uranus is what we're thinking, or Mercury is what we're thinking, and then Uranus is kind of like creating a little bit of chaos or creating a little bit of friction or create or kind of maybe triggering our emotions or triggering our nervous system. So we might be feeling a little emotionally and even nervous system wise, a little sensitive or a little triggered or a little impulsive or a little compulsive on Friday when the moon goes into Pisces and immediately squares Uranus and immediately squares Mercury. Okay. But then the moon moves on and it moves on to this beautiful trine with the sun. That's why I feel like we're partying, we're celebrating. You know, the sun is all about fun and self-expression and parties and celebration and stuff. So, you know, so that's what we're getting on Friday. And then on Friday night, and then what's also happening is, so another thing that starts to happen this weekend. Oh, Lordy, I think it actually does go exact this weekend. Let's see here. Doesn't have to be bad, but it can definitely be a little challenging. I'm trying to get to Sunday. You can see I'm clearly stressed. When I start playing on my hair like this, it's because I'm stressed. Um, Venus goes to 24 degrees on, we have Venus opposite Chiron. Venus square Jupiter. We have Venus, Chiron, and Jupiter in a T-square on Saturday, November 1st. And Venus hits that opposition to Chiron around 10 p.m. on Saturday. And this is going to be either a moment of healing or a moment of pain and woundedness when it comes to relationships and partnerships for many people, especially cardinal signs. If you have anything around 25 degrees, 24, 25 degrees of Cancer, Aries, Capricorn, and Libra, anything around 24 to 25 degrees of Capricorn, Aries, Capricorn, or Libra. I want you to be very mindful, very alert, and very emotionally stable, very aware of what's going on in your relationships this weekend, specifically Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Because Venus is going to that 24th degree where she's squaring Jupiter. Well, that's fun. That's expansive. That's exciting. That's opportunistic. That's like love and romance. But we also got to be aware that Chiron is playing a part in this, Chiron and Aries. So there can be some emotional frustration. There can be a moment of emotional triggering. There can also be this moment of what we think is optimism or hope or joy or expansion, but it ends up becoming something kind of painful, or it ends up becoming a karmic lesson, or it ends up becoming something that, reveals some kind of woundedness or reveals some kind of karmic thing. So, okay, let's break this down real quick. Let's break this down. Okay. Chiron and Aries. What has Chiron and Aries been about? Chiron and Aries has been about us feeling disempowered, us feeling a lack of passion, us feeling, angry or frustrated, us feeling a wound with a woundedness around our masculinity, a woundedness around men, a woundedness around our power, right? A woundedness around our individuality or independence or sense of self. That's what that's about. Chiron squaring Jupiter. This Jupiter in Cancer has been about what feels good and our beliefs and our expansion, but it's also been about Jupiter in Cancer has been about like family, and it's been about our past and our ancestry, right? It's been about, us trying to move or buy a new home or relocate, us trying to do something. So with this Jupiter square Chiron in the sky, there's a kind of like a woundedness that we're having to confront for many of us around faith, around hope, Jupiter, around our family, around our past, Jupiter and Cancer, also kind of like around nourishment or nourishing or caring or nurturing others, but then maybe that doesn't get reciprocated or that doesn't really show up for us, or maybe, that frustrates us or irritates us because we're giving and we're not receiving. Jupiter in Cancer, squaring Chiron in Aries, but Jupiter in Cancer also now, as of November 1st, or coming up in November 1st, squaring Venus in Libra. And Venus opposing Chiron and Aries. And Venus and Libra is about equality in a relationships. It's about balance. It's about fairness. It's about romance. It's about love. Venus and Libra is about reciprocation, right? That's what Venus and Libra is about. So with Chiron forming this opposition with Venus and the square to Jupiter and this T-Sqaure that shows up, it does kind of feel like we have to address some kind of woundedness around the emotional reciprocity in relationships, or the lack thereof. We have to address some kind of woundedness around how we've overcompensated in relationships in order to, feel valued or appreciated. We have to address some woundedness around what we're not getting emotionally, what we're not getting, I would even say for some of us financially, because a big part of your relationship is maybe something to do with the give and take and how it's more about a tangible or physical or financial thing, right? Or even maybe how are the connections or the relationships that we're participating in are keeping us in a state of disempowerment, are frustrating us, are keeping us in a state of, where we lack individuality, or where we don't feel really seen, or we don't feel really valued or validated, or we feel like in some ways we have to silence ourselves or censor ourselves, or we have to, do not be true or authentic to ourselves in order to participate and be present in the relationship, right? So, what I will say on Saturday, as Venus goes to 24 degrees Libra Saturday night, opposes Chiron and Aries, squares Jupiter in Cancer, I think we need to be very, very mindful, especially if you're a cardinal sign or you have cardinal placements around that 25th degree, 24 degrees, 25 degrees of Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, Aries. Be very mindful of what is happening in our connections and our relationships, and just be aware of being possibly triggered. Okay, be aware of being possibly triggered. Also, around this time, the moon is going to be conjoining Saturn. So the moon, right, she's been transiting Pisces. She hits the north node. Why is she flying so fast? Oh my goodness. The moon is flying. She is going real fast. Oh, I think yeah, because she has to like prepare for our full moon in Taurus. That's why. So she's kind of flying pretty fast. The moon hits the north node Saturday morning around 8:30 a.m. Right at 8:30 a.m. the moon hits the north node. But then the moon, she's gonna move on and be with Saturn and Neptune by the end of the day. And right as the moon hits Saturn and Neptune at the end of the day, goes to that 24 degrees, opposes Chiron, and squares Jupiter. So there's kind of like the moon in Pisces, all these Pisces placements are being disposited by Jupiter in Cancer. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter traditionally, so we're looking to Jupiter in Cancer. And what is Jupiter in Cancer doing on this day? Well, he's squaring Chiron in Aries, and he's also squaring Venus in Libra. So there seems to be some kind of pressure, some kind of tension that's happening between ourself, our relationship life, and our family life. Ourself, Aries, our relationship life, Libra, our family life, Cancer, right? And this could also be around, like I was saying before, emotional reciprocity in relationships, a feeling of being undervalued or underappreciated, a feeling that things need to pivot or things need to shift and change for us to feel more inspired, feel more connected, feel more like we're getting back what we're putting in from the relationship, things like this. And that could be triggered on Saturday. But also this energy is going to bleed over into Sunday because the moon kind of wraps up in Pisces, but Venus, as she opposes Chiron, she's still separating from that opposition with Chiron going into Wednesday. So I feel like, you know, Saturday night going into or Saturday, Sunday, did I say Wednesday? I don't know why I said Wednesday. Saturday and Sunday can be a little contentious, be a little triggering. I just want you guys to be mindful of this, okay? Be mindful of this. But this could also be about meeting people that are kind of healing, people that are good for us, people that are, where there's some kind of opportunity, there's some kind of future that we're feeling in some type of way, right? With that Venus square Jupiter. So I think this could also, bring a lot of new expansion and growth into our life where there's healing relationships that are kind of growing, or healing people that come into our life that are going to help us on our journey in some type of way. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that, okay? Um, Alrighty. And then the moon hits Saturn. The moon hits Saturn Saturday night, Sunday morning. The moon's gonna be with Neptune and Saturn. So someone's waking up hungover. But this is also a moment of divine alignment. Sunday night. Oh my God. Or Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday. I don't know why I'm seeing someone in the club. Like they lock eyes with someone and they're dressed up as like a werewolf. And that other person is dressed up as like Red Riding Hood. They like lock eyes and they like fall in love. And it's like this movie moment. The moon is going to be with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, making this beautiful trine to Jupiter and Cancer, this beautiful trine to Mars and Scorpio. So I don't know. Some of y'all are doing, you're going home with the wolf, or you're going home with Red Riding Hood on Saturday night. Okay, someone said their love language is locking eyes. That's my love language too. My love language is locking eyes as well. But yeah, there's gonna be this beautiful grand trine in the sky with Saturn, Moon, Mars, Lilith, Jupiter, and Cancer. But you know what? This could also be a little taboo. This could be a little dramatic. Because this could also be like, maybe that that person is already in a relationship. That person is with somebody. That that person, there may be something, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? There may be something uh salacious. Is that a good word? Is that the right word? I think that's the right word I'm looking for. Scandalous. That's the word I'm looking for. There may be something scandalous, something salacious around Saturday night and what's going on Saturday night and who you meet Saturday night. You might just want to like you might not want to get all caught up in the fantasy and the illusion of the experience. You got to stay really grounded and realize, okay, this could just be like a one night thing type of thing for some of y'all. You may feel like you met your soulmate that night, but I don't know. I'm looking at Lilith and Mars and Scorpio participating in this. I'm also seeing Neptune and Pisces, and we can be a little delulu. Okay, we might, you know. So I think we just got to be very aware of what's happening. But this looks fun though. Moon trine Jupiter, Moon trine Mars. This looks fun. This looks exciting. This looks sexy. The moon in Pisces trine Mars and Scorpio. Like this is feeling like a sexy night. Some of y'all are bearing it all on Saturday night. Some of y'all are going out in that little Halloween costume, and that Halloween costume ain't nothing but a little piece of tape. The Halloween costume ain't nothing but a little piece of tape. Okay. What is it? You didn't wrap your boobs up in some toilet paper. You got a few little pieces of toilet paper around your waist, and you calling it you're a mummy. Okay. You're saying, oh yeah, I'm a mummy. Baby, that's all. Mummies cover themselves up fully. Okay. I don't know what that is. That you just looking like you fell into a porta potty and came out. You looking like a porta potty survivor with those little strips of toilet paper all wrapped on your body. Okay. I don't know if that's necessarily what a mummy would look like, but okay, you have to make that costume sexy in some type of way. That's what it's looking like. It's giving porta potty survivor is what it's giving. Okay. Not mummy. Some of y'all are walking, you're going outside though, and you're bearing it all. Okay. Moon trine, Lilith, Lilith and Mars and Scorpio. Yeah. Yep. That's some of you Saturday night at that Halloween party, just bearing it all, letting them tits out. Okay. All right, let's move on. So we wrap up Sunday with the moon going into Aries, but also hitting a conjunction with Neptune. Let me see here. Am I missing anything? Sometimes there's just so many aspects going on that I can't like catch them all, you know? Gotta catch them all. Oh, you're my best friend in a world we get to defend. Pokemon, gotta catch them all. Okay, the moon does go into Aries by midday Sunday. The moon's going to be in Aries. And the moon is going to trine Mercury. The moon's going to sextile Uranus. So, what we want to be mindful of around midday, for those of you going to Sunday brunch as the moon goes into Aries, we want to be mindful. We have Mars also at 28 degrees, trining Neptune though. So, I feel like Mars trine Neptune, Mars separating from a trine with Saturn, Mars separating from the trine with Jupiter. I don't feel like this is as angry as contentious, but this is feeling very sexy and very passionate. The moon in Aries is being disposited by Mars in Scorpio, and the moon in Aries is also going to be opposing our new moon in Libra by sign. So, the moon in Aries is really going to wrap up our new moon in Libra cycle entirely. So, whatever lessons we were meant to learn around partnerships and relationships, whatever is meant to unfold for our new moon and Libra cycle, we can see that kind of happening or that unfolding or that kind of activation of events when the moon goes into Aries midday Sunday and then the days after as the moon is transiting Aries Monday and Tuesday, right? Because then when the moon goes into Taurus, we're getting ready for our full moon in Taurus. But the moon doesn't go into Taurus, I believe, until Tuesday. So welcome everybody just coming in. We've been here. I'm about to wrap up though. We've been here for a while. But yeah, so we wrap up the week with the moon in Aries, but the moon makes this beautiful trine to Mercury. So I love on Sunday going into well, actually it's on Sunday. The moon trines Mercury and the moon sextiles Uranus. So that the moon's in Aries, sextile Mercury and Sag. So this looks kind of like fun or very expansive. This kind of looks like having some really good conversations, hanging out with friends. Some of y'all are going to Sunday brunch and y'all are gonna, do some really fun things. But this looks kind of wild. This looks exciting. It's also maybe a day that we do something very physical. So we feel called to like go to the gym or we feel called to go hiking or we're just feeling a lot of heat and stuff like that day. Feeling very passionate, very inspired and things like this. What I will say though is I do believe, I'm gonna just tell you guys this now, this weekend is gonna stir up relationship drama. This weekend is going to stir up relationship drama for many people, mainly because Venus hitting this opposition with Chiron and Venus Chiron squaring Jupiter in Cancer. And then the moon in Pisces being disposited by this Jupiter in Cancer who's squaring Venus and Chiron. And we got this T-Sqaure between Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus. So I will say that I do believe that this weekend can be a little dramatic or a little intense or a little kind of put us into a crisis energy around relationships. So just be mindful of that. If you are someone that is going through relational things, be careful with getting alcohol involved or getting others involved this weekend in your relationship. Be careful, like don't bring your problems out to a party. Like if you and your partner are going through something, you guys are dealing with some BS, okay? You guys are having to work through things, and you guys know you have a Halloween party to go to. Leave your problems at home. Don't bring your stuff to the party. And then don't go to the party and get all drunk or do whatever. And then all of a sudden, you guys are like, arguing or fighting or there's drama there. Don't bring your shit to anyone else's stuff. Keep your shit at home or figure that shit out first before you go out, okay? Because or even if you're gonna go out individually, like so you're not like triggering each other, okay? Because I really do feel like there's gonna be a lot of people bringing their personal problems or their relational problems to like public spaces or to like party fun spaces, and that leave your shit at home, okay? We're here to party. We're here to have fun. We're here to dance. We're here to do our thing. We're here to kind of like, we're not, a party or a public space is not a place for you to figure out your relationship stuff. Okay, you do that shit at home. That's no one else's problem. Okay, you figure that out over there. Okay, back there, or just don't go. Okay, because I really do feel like this energy seems very triggering when it comes to relationships and partnerships. And also, you got to think about it. Jupiter in Cancer squaring Chiron and Aries. Jupiter is expanding our emotional triggering, our emotional reaction. Jupiter square Venus, Jupiter square Chiron and Aries. Like if we're gonna, people are if the energy of anger comes to find us this weekend, right, or even now with Jupiter square Chiron and Aries, it's gonna get amplified and it's gonna grow very quickly because of the Chiron and Aries squaring Jupiter and Cancer that's kind of been in the sky. Jupiter is gonna be sitting in the square with Chiron for a while. Jupiter is going to start to retrograde at 25 degrees Cancer, where he's at now. He's not moving. Jupiter's not moving in the sky, but he's going to start retrograding in this fixed square with Chiron. So this Jupiter and Cancer square Chiron and Aries is giving us this long-term opportunity to really take a look at what we emotionally need, what family is. It's allowing us to heal these wounds with our past, these wounds with ancestry, Cancer, these wounds around individuality, how we weren't loved, how we weren't supported by our family, by our mother, how we didn't get nurtured properly, right? And also kind of like addressing these wounds of how we help or give or support, but maybe how that doesn't get reciprocated, right? Venus and Libra squaring Jupiter and Cancer. Venus opposite Chiron and Aries. What if it's the couple's party? Well, they can go deal with that in their room, okay? Like, there are right. Private relational BS has no business in the public space. Unless you're going to court to get a divorce, unless you're going to court to deal with the child support and deal with all that, right? Like, unless you're going to therapy, like couples counseling, right? Your personal relational stuff should not be being brought into spaces like the club, like a house party, like a music festival. It has no business being there. No business. Because all it's going to do is make it worse. All it's going to do is make it worse. You know, we're going to get more miscommunication. We're going to get more fighting. We're going to get more arguments. We're going to get, right? Parties and celebrations are Leo energy. Leo is a sign of what? Drama. Why do you think that so many people, their relationships explode or go into crisis or they have these big intense moments at parties, at celebrations? Because parties and celebrations are Leo energy. That's why, right? So all it takes is a good party, a good celebration to trigger someone into because they want attention. They're looking for attention. That's what it is, right? Most of our issues and our problems, not most, but many of them, is what we're not getting from the partner. We're not feeling seen. We're not feeling supported. We're not feeling celebrated. So what do? Oh, well, this is what unconsciously they do. All right, well, let's go to a party and let me cause a scene so I can get that attention of what I'm not getting from my partner in our private life. That has nothing to do with us. That has nothing to do with all the people in attendance, right? Leave that shit at home. Deal with that on your own time, okay? Does that make sense? Parties are Leo things. They're Leo activities. It's Leo energy, right? So this is why we see so much drama, Leo, at parties. Makes sense. It's an energy thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, so that's how we wrap up the week with a little bit of crisis, a little bit of drama, with a little bit of possible woundedness, but also deep opportunities for connections that are healing, for people coming in that are very expansive, that are gonna love you, that are gonna treat you right, that feel good. Venus opposite Chiron, we got this beautiful square. I don't know, but T-squares to me are rough. I don't know, my loves. T-squares to me could be a little rough, especially when Chiron's involved. So I just want you guys to be mindful. Yours this weekend though, okay? I want you guys to, we're gonna do a whatchamacallit. We're gonna do a scavenger hunt for this upcoming weekend, okay? And I want you guys to like to check these off the list, okay? This weekend, okay? This is what you're gonna check off your list for the scavenger hunt. It's gonna be an astrological scavenger hunt for this weekend, okay? An angry man, you experience or see an angry man, a wounded mother, a mother that's crying or that's wounded or that's sad in some type of way, okay? And also the last one is gonna be a woman, a wounded woman that feels very undervalued or underappreciated by her partner who's going through a breakup or a separation. Okay. So the scavenger hunt is this weekend, coming into contact with a woman that feels undervalued, underappreciated by a partner who's going through a breakup or separation, a mother who's wounded in some type of way, and who's like deeply emotional, and also a very angry man. Okay, that's your scavenger hunt for this weekend. If you experience those three people this weekend, then that's the astrology for you. That's your astrological scavenger hunt for this weekend. Okay. If you experience all three of those, let me know. Okay, send me a DM next weekend. Okay, next Sunday. And one of those may be you. You might be two of those. Okay, you might be two of those. All right. She said I'm all three. She said found them already. First one will be easy. It's me. That's so funny. I love it. It's hilarious. I think I'm one of those too. I'm an angry man. I've been feeling, the Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio together has been like transiting my Venus. Oh, one more thing I want to leave you guys with before I go, okay? Everybody that sent a donation or that, I really appreciate that. One more thing I want to leave you guys with, okay? This for this week, and also this is kind of like a general Scorpio thing, a Scorpio season thing, but we'll talk about this again. We'll talk about it again during later on during Scorpio season because it's going to come up again later on during Scorpio season. Because we've had Mercury, Mars, and Lilith together, Lilith and Scorpio. I want to shed some light on this really quick before I go. Really watch right now for the resurgence of bad habits and bad behaviors. So watch out for like addictive, compulsive habits coming up. Also, partners or people from the past coming back that have really bad intentions, that are very toxic or unhealthy. Because this energy of Lilith being with Mercury, Mars is kind of uh, is kind of drawing us towards temptation, or it's kind of triggering some toxicity or some shadowy behavior. And then now we have the sun in Scorpio. So, Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio really has a way of bringing out obsessive, toxic energy and bringing out like addictive habits and behaviors. And it also has a way of kind of triggering us emotionally so that we look to the ways to cope with the discomfort of those emotions and the overwhelm of those intense emotions. So, be mindful this week of, because we have Mercury Mars in a conjunction. Um, well, Mars is now separating. Oh, I'm sorry. We have Mars Lilith in a conjunction, but we have Mars separating. Yeah, as of today, Mars is separating from this conjunction with Lilith. Be mindful of this kind of like shadowy, temptuous, addictive, compulsive energy, this behavior that's like, could be triggering us because of the Lilith involvement with Mercury and Mars. Lilith in Scorpio, she has a way of, you know, leading us astray through temptation and kind of triggering our shadows and triggering, our behaviors that are kind of like toxic or unhealthy. But also, Lilith is this celestial point where she has a lot to do, Black Moon Lilith, she has a lot to do with kind of self-righteousness and self-empowerment and like the divine feminine. And I think it's so interesting how with Lilith, Mars, Mercury together, how we've seen quite a few stories of women stepping into positions of power. I think Japan just got their first female leader. And I was reading something, or their first female president, I believe. Or what is she, the president? Or is she what is she called? Is she called the president? I don't know if she's called the president. She might be called prime minister. I mean, she might be their prime minister or something. I don't really know what she's called, but they got their first female prime minister. And there was another country as well that re-elected, I think it was the Netherlands. They elected a female president or female prime minister. So we're kind of seeing this kind of prime minister, right? Yeah. We're seeing this reclamation of the divine feminine with Lilith, Mars, and Mercury and Scorpio, and also Lilith moving into a trine with Jupiter and Saturn, right? So Black Moon Lilith is also trining Jupiter in Cancer and trining Saturn in Pisces. So I think one of the things that we're going to continue to see with this Lilith trine Jupiter and Saturn is we're going to see like more women or more of the divine feminine like taking up space, stepping into positions of power, also, being presented with opportunities, right? I really do feel like we're going to start to see with Lilith and Scorpio a lot more of these rebellious women, a lot of these women that are like, they're kind of standing up to the man, they're standing up to the status quo, they're standing up to the patriarchy, they're standing up to the capitalism, they're kind of more progressive. We're going to be seeing more of that. I really do feel like we're going to continue to see this. It's going to be a general theme. It's going to be a long-term thing, but I also think right now, immediately, we're seeing that, we're gonna seeing that with Lilith, trine Jupiter and Saturn. But I also want you guys to be mindful. Lilith, she has a way of pulling us into weird relationships. Lilith has a lot to do with secret hidden relationships. Falling in love with someone who's already married, but you didn't know. Being the third person, being caught in a love triangle and you didn't even know it. Lilith and Scorpio. Okay, Lilith has a lot to do with hidden, with especially Scorpio. She has a lot to do with with things that are hidden and things that are secret and things that are happening behind closed doors and things like this. So I want you guys to be mindful of this. Be very discerning right now with Lilith in Scorpio. When Lilith and Mars together, and also with Lilith trining Jupiter and trining Saturn. Lilith is very active in the sky right now. This is why we're getting so much. How many scandals have you been seeing people getting caught in? Like we've been seeing so many, so many political scandals, so many politicians being caught in scandals right now because Lilith is transiting Scorpio. Scorpio is one of the signs of the politician, right? So we've been seeing so many um, politicians getting caught in scandals. And it has a lot to do with money because Scorpio is opposite of Taurus. And the whole axis of Scorpio and Taurus, the axis, has a lot to do with money and resources and where money's going and who's giving money to who and who's donating money here and things like this, right? So I just want you guys to be very mindful of this energy, okay? Of Lilith and Scorpio. And do not be tempted, okay? I'm gonna I'm gonna leave you guys with a little quote. I'm gonna leave you guys a little quote from the Bible. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here it is right here. I found it. And this is probably a quote. If you don't love the Bible, it's okay. You don't have to love it. I'm not really into the Bible wholly. I only love the New Testament and I only love Jesus. So that's the only reason why I read the Bible and I'm connected to it, okay? I do not consider myself a Christian or a Catholic, especially in this day and age. Oh no, no, no. With what those churches are doing. Oh no, no, no. I'm off that. But anyways, okay. Let me go ahead and read you guys this. This has a lot to do with Lilith and Scorpio, okay? And then we're gonna wrap up here, okay? And then we're gonna wrap up here. Okay, this is my Lilith is at 24 degrees. Oh no, she's at 23 right now. Hold on, let me see. We're gonna wrap up here. 23. She's at 23 right now. She's just going over my Venus. All right, this is from James 1. You guys have probably seen me. I've posted this on my stories before. Faith and endurance. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know, when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking, but when you ask, be sure that your faith is in God. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything they do. God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised them to those who love. And remember, when you are being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and he never tempts anyone else. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. So do not be misled, my brothers and sisters. Whatever is good and perfect is a gift coming down from us, from our Father, who created all lights in the heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. He chose to give us birth by giving us his true word, and we, out of all creation, became his prized possessions. So the reason why I say that is because Lilith has a lot to do with temptation. And a lot of times we are led astray by our own temptations, or even when we experience it, hardship and difficulty in our life, we have We are very quick to be like, God, you're punishing me. God, you're putting through this me. Universe, the divine, you guys attacking me. You don't love me. You don't support me. You don't blah 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 blah. Right? We're so quick to project our own victimness and our own experience and to not sit with it and to not really see how it's testing that produces our endurance, that produces deeper faith, right? And many times what we're going through, we're so quick to go ahead and blame it on the outside world or blame it on another or blame it on the divine, when in actuality, it's something that we're meant to go through and we have to go through. But also, when we are tempted, right, we tend to believe that it's the divine, it's spirit that's tempting us, but it's not. It's ourselves. It's our own karma. It's what we have to go through, right? And that's where we get into mastery of willpower. That's where we get into overcoming, the many temptations of this life, in order for us to become better and do better by ourselves and by others. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that we got to overcome as individuals. There's a lot of stuff that we got to overcome within ourselves. And it's very difficult, it's very hard, but we have to take full accountability, responsibility for that, right? We got to take full accountability, responsibility for our choices and our decisions. We have to take accountability for our habits and our addictions and the ways that we escape, the ways that we avoid, the ways that we hurt ourselves, the way that we hurt others, right? These are all things that are a matter of choice. And once we really start to understand why we're here as souls, why we're here on this earth, what we're all doing here, you know, we a big part of that understanding, once we really start to understand that we're here to be tested, we're here to see what we're going to do with our free will. That's the big question. It's like we're an ant colony, it's like the universe, God, the divine, is looking at us like, okay, little ants, what are you guys going to do with this free will that I gave you? Okay, with you, because right, it's your choice, you're going to do what you do with your life, right? But we all have to deal with the consequences of our actions, and we're all being tested by with our free will is also a test. As much as it is a liberty, it's also a test. The divine is testing us. We're being tested by the divine, by spirit, to see what we're going to do with the free will that we've been given. Some of us do nothing. Some of us do great things. Some of us become the greatest. We do the best. We fall in line with God's plan. We fulfill the mission. We feel accomplished. We have this beautiful impact on people's lives, right? Where others of us, we create what? Harm, in challenge, in difficulty. We hurt more people than we heal, right? And we get caught up in our ego, and we get all attached to the addictions, and we get all self-destructive, and our self-destructiveness hurts other people, right? It's all a matter of choice. What are you going to do with the free will that you've been given? What are you going to do with the choice that you've been given, right? In this lifetime. We all have potential to do great, amazing things. This doesn't have anything to do with fame. This doesn't have anything to do with being a celebrity. This doesn't have anything to do with being popular. No, that's not what we're talking about, right? Sometimes our own soul's journey, what greatness looks like, is being a good fucking parent, being the best parent that you could be. Sometimes that is your soul's mission. How many people that you know of, I even know of, there's like been great prophets and great, spiritual leaders and stuff. They've done so much for the world, right? They've positively influenced the lives of millions, maybe some of them, okay? But they go home and they're a terrible parent. They're horrible with their own kid. They're a horrible spouse. They're horrible with their own family. It's not that isn't going to diminish their impact on the world and the globe and what they've contributed, but that's still going to be a karmic baggage. That's still going to be a karmic thing that they got to deal with. That's still a lesson that's not learned, right? It's like, it's crazy, but that's how it is. You know what I mean? That's how it is. And so for some of us, our goal and our mission is really small, actually. And it's a little bit more simple. Not everyone is here to be Martin Luther King. Not everyone is here to be, Gandhi. Not everyone has a global soul mission, right? Some people are here to experience very small lessons, and they're here to work with their microcosm. They're here to figure out things with their family and with the majority of people, I'd even say, with their family, with their friendships, with their kids, with their lover, with their spouses, right? Some people have a really small, and they can't even figure that out. No judgment. I love you all, but like, Be a good parent. Figure that out. Okay. Learn how to be a good spouse. Learn how to be a good husband. Be a good wife. Be a good, you know, be good to yourself. For some people, their karmic lessons, their karmic burden has nothing to do with other people. It's literally them, how they take care of themselves, how they work through their own mental health stuff, whether or not they're going to overcome their addictive habits and their behaviors, whether or not they're going to be able to tame their nervous system, whether or not they're going to be able to like really overcome depressive negative thinking, whether or not they're going to cultivate faith, right? A lot of our work as on our individual soul level work has absolutely nothing to do with other people. It has everything to do with what's in us and our own relationship with self, right? Because that's where it starts. That's where it starts, right? If you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to love anyone else truthfully, authentically, fully, or you're only going to love people in a very limited way or for very shallow things. If you don't truthfully, authentically love yourself, if you're not able to go really deep and be really vulnerable and be really honest with yourself, do not expect you to be vulnerable or deep or honest with others, and don't expect other people to be deep, vulnerable, and honest with you. Because people are only going to be able to meet you where you're at. You're only going to be able to meet others where you're at, right? So it's like if you want depth, if you want deep unconditional love, if you want intimacy, if you want that level of closeness with others, you got to meet yourself there first. You got to meet yourself there first. You see what I'm saying? And this is why so many people, they're looking for love, but they don't love themselves. And when they go ahead and find love, they find someone that also doesn't love themselves. And then they get all mad, you don't love me, you don't love me. And the other person's like, you don't love me. Well, you don't love me. Well, actually, well, you guys know what you're saying to each other? We don't love ourselves. I don't love you, you don't love me because we don't love ourselves. That's what you guys are saying to each other. And then you're mad about it, and then you're attacking each other, and you're hurting each other, and you're only amplifying the woundedness that you guys already feel within yourself. What are we doing? What are we doing? Right? Like, we have to fall deeply, compassionately in love with ourselves. We have to sit with ourselves and get to know ourselves. We have to work through our own individual karmas so that we don't end up projecting that onto others, especially others that we truly love and care about, or those that are here that are sent to us as lessons. You know, your children are a lesson. Your children are a lesson. There's a reason your children chose you. So it's so crazy because people be like, oh, my child, and oh, my mom and my dad, and oh my God, baby, you chose them before you came here. You chose to be born to your mother and your father. You chose to have that this soul, that this child was gonna be yours. You chose that before you came here. So your task and your mission in this lifetime is to figure out why. Okay. And then after the why, you're actually the first, that's just the preliminary work is the figuring out the why. But the primary work is to do better and be better and to heal it. That's why our relationship with our kids, our relationship with our spouse, our relationship with our parents, our relationship with our siblings are the most difficult because that's where the learning is at. That's where we're supposed, those people and their influence on us and what happens, they are supposed to teach us some very important things, right? That experience of them, or even the lack thereof, not having them sometimes. Sometimes the lesson is to learn how to go without. This is why you'll see many people, they have a mother or father that was never there for them, that never supported them, or that ended up leaving them at an early age in some type of way, right? Because the lesson is do it by yourself. You're going to have to learn how to go without this. Maybe you had this in a past life, you didn't appreciate it. You weren't grateful for that. So guess what? In this lifetime, it's taken away from you. You don't have it at all. Now you got to figure it out because that's your karmic lesson, right? Like it's very interesting actually. I get a lot of these downloads when I do readings for people around like the why between certain things that are denied to them in this lifetime, and it has a lot to do with the lack of gratitude and a lack of care from past lives. It's like, oh, you didn't appreciate the experience of being a mother? Well, guess what? You're gonna have a difficult mother in this lifetime, and you're gonna have difficult children in this lifetime. Right? Like that's the way it works. You know what I mean? It's the universe has this way of, this reality in this universe and this like what we go like our human experience, it has a way of kind of self-correcting us, you know? But I love you all so much. I could be here preaching all day, but we're not gonna get there. But I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. I'm gonna end it here because I can keep on going. But my final word for all of this, the reason why I read the scripture is because of the Lilith and Scorpio. My final word with this is to really take, Scorpio season, really take a look at yourself and know yourself fully and be honest with yourself and be honest with the parts about yourself that you do not like or you do not love, and start falling in love with those parts of yourself. Start sending yourself light. Start filling in the gaps of your person. Okay? Because once you really start to get to that place of wholeness and fullness and you feel complete within yourself and you really start to love yourself, especially the ugly parts about ourselves, right? The Scorpio is all the parts about ourselves that we don't like, how we can be jealous or envious, or how we feel like we're toxic, or how we reject ourselves, or how we don't accept ourselves, or how we judge ourselves, like, all these really unhealthy emotional ways that we relate to the self. Start to work through all that stuff. Start to work through all that stuff. Let all that stuff go. So that underneath all that trauma and underneath all that fear and underneath all that judgment, underneath all that shame, you can really get to the core and the meats and the bones of who you are, which is love. You're love. You're love. We all want love. We all want to give love. We all want to receive love. That's at the end of the day, we all want that. That is a universal need. That is a universal thing for all human beings. We all want love, So we got to clear out all the stuff within us that is blocking us from giving love openly and from receiving love openly, right? But it starts with the self. We got to fully love ourselves deeply, knowingly, compassionately, without judgment. We got to love ourselves deeply. Okay. And let Scorpio season help you release all that ish, all that muck that is blocking you from seeing yourself, from accepting yourself, and from loving yourself fully. Okay? Mwah! I love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank all the birthday wishes. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. You guys have a beautiful, blessed day with love, with gratitude, with appreciation. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for supporting me. And yeah, I'll see you guys around. Thank you. All right. Take care. I'll see you. Bye.